everyone, this is Jasmine, and I'm here today to share with you some pretty easy snacks that I've made recently. Starting off with these Spritz cookies, these are probably the most challenging one of the bunch, simply because I didn't add enough flour. But this is the cookie press that I borrowed from my mother. She's had this for quite a long time, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to have this? I don't use this anymore." I said, "Absolutely." And it's brand new, came with all the original packaging, with all of these different tips to make different shapes with the Spritz cookies. So I'm going to use these pastel colored M&Ms on the tops of the Spritz cookies just to give them some extra spring colors. And first I'm adding in some room temperature butter into our mixture. We're going to use 2 whole sticks of this. This calls for a lot of butter. So just be warned that if you're trying to, avoid any fats, this might not be the recipe for you. We're also going to add in some sugar, and we're going to cream those 2 items together until it begins to look just like this. We're going to add 2 egg yolks into the mixture and some vanilla. Mine is homemade, so that's why it looks like it's in this funky jar. And go ahead and combine that as well. We're adding some almond extract next. And some salt. Next, the recipe calls for 2 cups of flour to be slowly incorporated into our mixture. I have my trusty strainer here that I'm going to use to sift my flour, and I'll use a spoon to help me along. Once you have a little bit of flour in each, you're going to mix it up just like this. This is my last amount of flour, so I'm whisking it thoroughly together. Keep in mind that if your dough is too sticky, like kind of how it is here as I'm pushing it in, just keep in mind that you may have to add more flour to make it easy to press out. This is where I made my mistake. I was confident. I'm like, yes, this looks good. And I'm eager to get pressing. And I struggled so hard with pressing these out. It was not a joke. Like, this is me struggling, and I'm like, "What is happening?" And I'm trying to press, and not to mention I loaded it wrong, but simply all I needed was a little bit more flour, and these would have come out so much more easily. So if you're gonna try making these, just keep that in mind. And finally, after baking them for a bit, they've come out, and this is what they look like. Now, I am going to add the M&Ms at this point. If you want them to stay nice and neat in the cookies, you should add them in beforehand. However, when I did that with an earlier batch, the M&Ms kind of lost a little bit of their color, so I decided to put them in afterward. But completely up to you, they're still going to taste the same. And this is the final product. I actually really liked these. They tasted good, they were cute, and I know I'm going to make these again in the future. Just, not not with mistakes. Next, we have some strawberries. At the time filming this, strawberries were very in season, so I decided to whip up a sweet treat for myself. I'm just going to go ahead and rinse them and dry them on this towel. Make sure you're as thorough as possible without squishing the berries. And I'm going to remove those green tops. And I'm a little strange, so I'm going to cut off those top bits as well. I know some people will eat the whole berry. If that's you, awesome. And finally, we're going to slice these into little slithers and put them together in a bowl. They should look something like this. Once all your strawberries are cut, You can go ahead and add as much sugar as you would prefer into the mixture. This is going to help draw out some of the internal moisture of the strawberries and also create a sweet syrup for them. And this will come in handy for one of our later snacks as well. But once you have thoroughly stirred the mixture, go ahead and pop that in the fridge. And meanwhile, we're going to make some cream. We're basically making strawberries and cream here. I'm going to put about 8 ounces of cream into my little cup here. And I'm going to freehand how much sugar I want. I tend to use about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. And then I whisk it together. And after a couple of minutes, you will find that your mixture has thickened into something like this. And keep on whisking when you're at this point, because then it turns into this wonderful whipped cream. If you want to get extra fancy, you can go ahead and take your whipped cream and pipe it into a piping bag. And then you can place your strawberries into a cup of your choice and then go ahead and add some whipped cream. And I continue to layer it until I get to a point like this. So delicious. Next, we are going to make some Rice Krispie treats using Lucky Charms. And these were surprisingly really good when I made them. And it's just 4 ingredients, which is wonderful. So this is a nice, easy snack to make, especially if you have kids involved. So let's go ahead and start. We're going to start off with a couple tablespoons of butter. Go ahead and melt that in a pretty large pot. It'll help later. Add your marshmallows and wait until they are melted. Give them a stir occasionally to make sure that they heat up evenly. You'll find that they start to look like this. And then while that's melting, you can go ahead and spray the pan that you're going to use. I'm using some Pam spray here. And go ahead and add in your Rice Krispies. We're using half Rice Krispies and half Lucky Charms. Go ahead and incorporate those thoroughly. Just like this. Keep on mixing until all of the marshmallows evenly distributed. When that's done, you can go ahead and place it in your pan. And I'm going to use a little bit of my spatula at the beginning. But then, once it's kind of pressed down, you can either use a wet hand or wax paper to press down the mixture. I didn't have wax paper, so I'm using parchment paper. It sticks a bit, but it still gets the job done. The moisture should be warm, but it shouldn't be extremely hot to handle. Let those set for a bit in your container. And then once they're cooled, you can begin to slice them. At this point, you can either choose to keep it in your container or you can take it out and slice it, whatever makes it easier for you to cut. I'm cutting mine roughly into squares. You can choose to make these longer or even tinier, depending if you have littles that you want to limit how much they're consuming. But completely up to you. This is your treat. And these are what the final results are. They're nicely colored, perfect for springtime festivities, and easy for many to eat, and quite delicious too. Finally, we're going to make some strawberry aid, strawberry soda. This one doesn't have a lot of sugar. I'm just adding some strawberries and some of that juice I mentioned. And I'm using a fork to kind of mush the berries. If you have a muddler, this will work much better, but a fork will get the job done. I have some ice, and I have some lemon juice that I'm going to add, just a splash. If you like more or less, you can do that. And finally, follow it up with some club soda, using a straw to help pour it into my cup and to also preserve the bubbles, because I am a bubbles gal, for sure. And after you give this a quick mix, you have your drink. If you like sugar, you can always add simple syrup. And this is me giving it a try. And it was really refreshing. I liked this so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Hopefully, you enjoyed those treats. Take care and bye.